So we'll see now if the adjustments can help. And now we have our next guest who's going to come on. We're going to talk NFL injuries. You guys saw Dr. David Chow come on the show a week or two ago. We showed you a little bit of the website, but now the mastermind behind the website is going to join the show and tell you guys how to use it. And he also has a special deal for you guys since you're watching the show live. So we're going to bring on this next guest to talk about SICScore.com from Dr. David Chow's website and talk all things injuries and how you can use injuries to help you with your prop betting. So Taylor Bicht coming up from SICScore.com. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I'm a mastermind on the site, but not on the audio. I apologize for that.
Oh, no, it's okay. I have had to learn to be a producer on this show, and sometimes I just have all these things go wrong. Do you have an X page, by the way, that people can follow you at?
Yes, I do. I'm at Flyer on the Wall is what it is.
Flyer on the Wall.
Yes, I did a journalism major, so I thought, Flyer on the Wall. I thought I was being cute with the Twitter page, but yeah, that's what it is right now.
Why? What's the backstory?
So, like, if you're like a fly on the wall, in a journalism, you're hearing stories and you're hearing all the stuff in the the locker room that you wouldn't normally get. So I was thinking I was being like clever and put my Twitter name or something like that when I was going up in the journalism world. So that's what it is. Yeah.
I love it. I'm so excited because this is like a very new. I talked to Dr. David Chow about this. It's very new.
Absolutely.
I assume on your end you can't share your screen, right?
No, I can't at the moment. No.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen, and you're going to help us walk through SICScore.com. And
Absolutely.
I know that you guys said that there was a promo code, right? We could use promo code PropQueen if people are watching the show, and
yes,
they can
absolutely.
get. What would they get from using the promo code?
So you get our new Sick Player Edge tool that we're going to show them right now. Prop bettors give them a unique advantage. We'd also give them analyze player insights, and they have game field views as well. So you can see red, yellow, and all the different colors of the injuries on like a field. And you can get all the up the level player insights. Anytime someone gets injured, split second, we'll have all the insights on the site.
So we're going to show you exactly what you can get right now from using SICScore.com, which is run by Dr. David Chow and all of his guys like Taylor. And also Sean, I think, wants to know what's in your background. Where are you?
Oh, I am in PB, San Diego Little Beach behind me. SeaWorld's a little bit to the left right here. Yeah, I have a nice. It's not going to be as nice if we go on the show in a couple of weeks, but right now I have a nice little background for you.
Oh, I'm so jealous. I would love to live by the water. Okay, so right now, do you guys just have NFL, or is this going to be in basketball season as well?
So NFL is definitely the main forefront right now. Basketball, we have created a formula for that as well. We're doing more like sides than player props right now, but we've noticed NFL, there's 11, people back, sides on each side, defense and offense. But basketball, right, there's only 5 starters. So when you have like a Durant or somebody out, it's much more significant, right? Because, the bench players and usage. So we've been starting to delve into that, and we want to get into basketball. I saw your baseball screen with your action stuff just now. So, they were trying to do baseball too, but that's a little bit more harder. But yeah, we're definitely delving into a lot more sports than just football.
So I had a lot of questions about this website, diving through it. I was asking Dr. Chow. He said, I'm not the expert, Taylor is, which is why you're here. I'm letting you take the floor. You guide me through the website the way that everyone should be using it, let's say for Sunday, to use injuries to help them make better prop bets.
Okay, this is a good start. Yeah, this page is a good start that you have right here. So you have what's called the Sick Player Edge right there. So that takes in, when you're looking at other stuff, like Schefter tweets or Rapport tweets, you're looking at just the player health. But the Sick Player Edge, you have the team health, you have the player health, and you have a bunch of other different factors involved there, which comes up with a player edge number. So then you see the prop number right next to it. Like you see a Brock Bowers right there, right? So 57.5 is his line, but you have the injuries to Chicago secondary. You have injuries to their linebackers, right? So those are factored into his prop, the player edge number. So then now you see the sick projection at 73.3 yards. So that's a pretty significant jump, right? If he's going to have just such a low number. So then our advantage over there, you see the over with the triangle next to it. That's a 3-star bet. When you have that significant of a player edge in the positive direction, it shows, why you should maybe take that prop. You see Kelsey on there too. Kelsey's been starting with such a low prop number you've seen the last couple of weeks. There's a certain point with Xavier Worthy, not 100% right. No Rashee Rice. So that opens up Kelsey for some opportunities.
The chat's talking a lot about Brock Purdy, who has just announced that he's going to be playing on Sunday. Let's try to use this to talk some Purdy. So what would I want to do here if I want to see, okay, what's the edge with Purdy?
Yeah, so you go to you can search his name up there if you want. Just write Purdy for me if you see right there. So right there, he has an 84 score, so he's just or have him as a questionable number. We'll probably raise him to 87, 88 in a couple hours when we get the final reports in. But even then, even if he's healthy, like I talked about, it's all about the other angles, right? Offensive line, they have some issues, and then it's the wide receivers. If you have no Ayuk, you have Kittle out, that's opening the door up for him have a bad game, right? You've seen him have, he's been relying on CMC. He's been relying on these backup tight ends, but it shows that with the minus 30.3 that it's not just him being healthy. It's also everything around him that's not healthy.
Which is interesting. I was looking at some of these stats because I do kind of like the Jaguars this week, just because also San Francisco's on a short week on Thursday. San Francisco has allowed the 4th most pass attempts per game, but they have been pretty good at stopping running backs from running the football. 4th least rush attempts per game to running backs. If you're going to take McCaffrey out of the game, potentially make Purdy throw, test the injury, then that could also, it makes them kind of one-dimensional.
Yeah, you could search CMC right now because that's a big thing too. It's not only what CMC is; it's like you said, the Jaguars' health in their D-line. Their D-line is super healthy, right? So even then, I know he's a 92 health. You have some, so not some big offense line. You still have Trent Williams healthy, but look at that, minus 8.3 player edge. That's because, like you said, this is a very, very healthy and good Jaguars defensive front and linebackers. So just because, he's healthy, it does not mean you should just take his over on his prop, right? Like you saw, there's many other factors on what you should do when you're looking at these props.
Absolutely. So now that we've looked at what these player health edges mean, and you guys have a lot of green here for some of these players, but then we could probably scroll down and get some of the players that you guys are low on. Let's see.
Yeah, put on one for me is Dak Prescott. That's what I'm going to talk about because I think it's an obvious one because if you think of Dak Prescott, the first thing you're thinking of, right? No CeeDee Lamb, right? So it's like that seems like it's an easy don't take Prescott, but there's more to it. If you just had CeeDee Lamb out and everything else fine, it wouldn't be that 26%. It'd be a much lower number. But now you have no center, Cooper Beebe. And now you have no guard out, right? So that's 2 offensive linemen out. So that's going to be much harder for Prescott to have space, time to throw in the pocket. And then you have no CeeDee Lamb. So that's one that's a good one to explain because you have a 92 health there. You're like, oh, Prescott's, he's going to be fine. But it's not just the wide receiver out. There's other issues that we take in that edge score.
Which is why I love the game views, because on the game views, you can go and see some of these things. So let's take a look at that particular. What do you want to do? Cowboys? You want to do 49ers?
Do the Buccaneers game for me because their offensive line is a mess, right? That's one I want to talk about. That was one of our big prop bets under last week for Bucky Irving. It was 70.5, I believe. He had 25 carries last week. You've seen that number before. If a running back gets 25 carries, he should be over his prop every single night, right? But the fact that they had 3 offensive linemen out, you see it worse is there, and then there's the right guard and the right tackle's disappeared because he's out too, right? So there's a certain point that even if you have an elite running back, Rachaad White's not even getting that much touches. With 3 offensive linemen down, you can get 25, 30 carries. It's hard for you to get your prop number. So that was one that was really significant last week that we thought was really good because that's a number that's a guy that you think he has a Bucky Irving, he has a credible usage rate over the last couple of weeks, but with this offensive line, it's hard to run by regardless of who you are. And you're seeing the offensive number up there right there. That's what I like you're showing with the numbers. You see 67.3 offensive score for Tampa Bay. That's atrocious. From a prop perspective, I would look at that and just take under on every single player, right? Under Baker, under Irving, under, any wide receiver like Buka, that's a very, very low score.
I was looking at some unders for the Bucs in that game. I just got a little worried about some unders because if you're going to take offensive unders, you'd have to think someone's making up for the loss of Mike Evans. We don't know yet if Chris Godwin is back or not. So how do we account for those situations?
That's difficult. I guess that's more you got to read into stuff, right? Like Mike Evans is one that's like it's hard to replace, right? But he's like a red zone one. Egbuka seems like he's very like the one that's taken over the Godwin role, right? So totally. Godwin, I think if Godwin comes back, I don't think he's taken over his own role. I think you can't take Egbuka off the field. He's had 3 touchdowns in the first 3 weeks of the season. He's even with the hip groin injury he had coming into last week, he looked effective. So like you said, there's different ways to look at it, but I mean, you can't just blindly take all the unders on the game, right? But like there are certain situations like the offensive line, that's probably more dependent on the running back. So maybe you take more Bucky Irving than the wide receivers. You never, like you said, usage has to come somewhere, right? Like, so even if Evans is out, it has to go to some player, but there's a certain point. I do like Kate Otten maybe, because you got to, there's, like you said, you got to find a way to like, there's different veins to the wide receiver group. And yeah, you can find something if you look.
I wanted to find a defense, so I'm going to go to the Ravens because the one thing I love about this chart is how to take advantage of defenses, since for the most part, we are betting player props that are offensive.
Right.
So when you look at this defense, hot mess, right? 81.7 rating. You are going to be without Matabike. You're going to be without Kyle Van Noy. And then like the best thing is you could click these, just showing everybody that you could click these.
With the insight right there too as well.
Yeah, Marlon Humphrey's going to play because he's just a drama queen. Nate Wiggins, you guys are saying he's questionable, but he'll probably play too.
Correct. Yep.
Talk about this rating here about the Ravens defense and how you could attack it.
So that was interesting. I know you know all about Matabike. He's such an influential part of your team. He cost a couple points on the line if you saw when he was out with his neck injury. He is interesting because I think I saw a lot of people say, "Oh, Gibbs," but that's not the kind of player he is. You have to look a bit more on what kind of team there is. He's a very interior run stopper, right? So without Matabike, Montgomery was the one that had the advantage. So you saw in your game the last night. I know I don't want to remind you of what happened, right? But Montgomery clearly was the main guy because he's the one that can attack that kind of running style. Outside runs, you still were okay. You have Smith in the middle of the linebacker queue. So that's definitely, you have to look at what kind of running back or what kind of like player can attack these. I remember the Monson Brown a couple weeks ago, we were really high on him because the Bears nickel corner was out, and Monson Brown runs in the slot more than most wide receivers do. Right. So it's not just like, oh, Monson Brown's the number one wide receiver, number one, Jalen Johnson. Let's just take that. It's more like, hey, see where they line up, see who the player's out and how to attack it.
Anything else on the site that you want to show everybody?
I guess you can show just the matchups. Oh no, the start sit is really good too. Start sit is interesting because if you have any fantasy like questions, like, oh, I want to start either David Montgomery or Christian McCaffrey, you can put those two players' name in and you can see who has the advantage, and then you can decide whether you want to play. And that's a very cool thing because other sites have it maybe because of the injury angle or not injury angle. This is purely injury angle, and all the sick player edges, like I told you, player health, team health, position group health, all is factored in. And this is a simple, just if you want to play one player or the other, quick Sunday night, Sunday morning, you're able to do this.
I absolutely love this. This is such a huge help for fantasy, for prop betting. I want to just show the fantasy edges real quick. I know we were talking a lot of props before. Where else can I do some fantasy stuff?
You go in the insights part right there. It's at the bottom. Insights is what you can, when you have a Yahoo Sports account, we all grew up on Yahoo Fantasy when we first came up. This is kind of like that red little asterisk that you usually saw that, hey, he's got news. So anytime there's a big injury update or anything that's popping up on a injury report, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we update them live constantly. Today's a big day, obviously, because of the Friday injury reports. So we're constantly moving that stuff today. You see Deron Bland is playing this week, likely. He's been out a couple weeks with the foot. So stuff like that. If you need injury information, like, oh, do I want to start this wide receiver this week? Oh, Bland's back. Maybe I don't. So this is a key part as well to use for fantasy.
The group chat's talking a lot about Bosa. So I guess let's talk about Bosa and his loss. What have you guys seen?
Yeah, Bosa's a big one. That dropped the Niners score. If you look at maybe the field views, that's a big one because that's just, they already had so many injuries coming in, right, defensively and offensively, and that made them one of the more injured teams going into this week. And that's why you said you like the Jaguars. That is something we've kind of leaned towards too with our six scores. If you look at the sick edge, that's 11.5 points just from the team. That's very significant. Usually if you're this early in the season, you should have like an 85, 86. 92 is very, very healthy. That's actually one of the most healthy teams. So you have one of the least healthy teams in the league versus one of the more healthy teams in the league in that field view you're showing right there.
I love using this. I just try to explain to everybody, this is all about just using, we're not trying to sell. We're not trying to, I try to tell people, I only bring people on when I actually use what I'm providing. And I actually use this. I use the field view a lot. I love that I learned something new about the fantasy edges.
Yeah.
There's so much on this site. No one else does this, where you can have a site that uses things based off injury, and then you take the stuff off injury and compare it to your other stuff. But
right. Yep.
we're not all doctors.
Nope, I'm not. So no, it's good that we obviously, like you talk about Dr. David Chow. He's so influential in all the stuff we do. I just am able to like be his right hand and get all the information from him and put on this site so everybody else can use. I always say, I don't want to say dumb it down, but he gives us stuff that sometimes is so a little complicated. And we'll make sure we put on a site, make sure everybody can use it, and you can use it for fantasy, betting, DFS, anything you want, right?
Everyone just sign up using promo code PropQueen6score.com. It's SIC score.com. Taylor Bicht, thank you so much for coming on and teaching us how to use the site and teaching us all these numbers that I didn't understand when I was looking at it. It seems confusing at first, but it's really simple.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, Ariel.